Hello and welcome to In the Course of Wenton Knave. We've got the final album, the final statement, Civilization Phaze III. It is a synclavier album. Kind of goes together with Yellow Shark as his final statement. The question is, does it count? Should I be doing it? It's album number 57. It's a lot of albums. But it is a posthumous release. He sadly passed away before this one was released. Now there's loads of stuff released after he died, so the question is, should I count this one or not? I think we do, because it's his final musical statement. So regardless of what else he prepared, like, you know, have I offended someone or whatever, this was the last thing he did. It was his last album he made. And for that reason, it's very important, and so therefore should be done. I mean, the next album was actually The Lost Episodes, which obviously was a proper compiled album, but it is earlier stuff. It is a compilation of old bits. So for that reason, I wouldn't include that, and I would include this one. Don't ask me to do any more Zappa. I've done lots of Zappa. Yeah, it was announced in '86. It was announced after Jazz from Hell as the one after Jazz from Hell. Although a lot of it was actually done in '92, around the time of the Ensemble Modern, having sampled them. So although it is synclavier, it's a much more advanced version of the synclavier than the one in Jazz from Hell. A lot of it just sounds like some amazing orchestra. It's only when it gets impossible, it sounds like the synclavier in a way. So that's cool. And obviously, if you were using that technology now, it would be much harder to tell the difference. So what is it? What is it about? Well, I think this is Frank's statement about what he would have done next. When he knew his time was up when he made this album, and so I think he was trying to make a statement about what's possible. Where will we go next? It was like the best he could do with the time available. Beat the Reaper. Let's do it. Let's make a massive final musical statement about what's possible, and that's just wonderful. It is of course Civilization Phaze III, because Phase I was either you were in it for the money or Lumpy Gravy, and Lumpy Gravy was Phase II or Phase I, and this is Phase III. So it is the piano people stuff again, the piano recordings. There's some new recordings, people from the Ensemble Modern and various other people, as well as some of the old stuff, so Motorhead's on there, etc. The Laughing Guy is on there briefly, unfortunately. In terms of me saying I'm not worthy, as I said before, more so than ever with this album. I mean, it's just an amazing piece of work, and I wish I had the time to sit down and actually do some proper musical analysis, do a proper review of it, and really look into what it's about conceptually, musically. But I just don't have the time to do that, and I wanted to put the music up on the screen and things like that, but I don't have the time to do that. It would take me a week of solidly messing around with it to do something like that, so that's not going to happen. So yeah, more avant-garde than ever, sound effects. It gets more extreme as it goes on, so the first side is much fairly easier than the second side, where it goes into sound effects a lot more. Some of it obviously is impossible to play. Some of it is actually played by the Ensemble Modern, so there are improvisations of the Ensemble Modern somewhere on side 2. It's very difficult to tell because the synclavier is playing samples of them playing, so and that's essentially what the CD is. Obviously, it's an opera pantomime, basically about the collapse of modern civilization. It actually has directions about what would happen while the music was playing, dances and stuff, in this wonderfully packaged thing here. Interestingly, not remastered in 2012 for the 2012 releases, because they were only ones remastered while he was alive, and they didn't include this. Maybe that's because this is a sort of set, fixed moment in time and shouldn't be messed with. That's the only release of it. I kind of like that. Is it depressing? On the one hand, you're looking at from when he was from Lumpy Gravy to here, and he's talking about how the world has got worse. The idea is the world has got worse in between. And that's kind of his final statement, is that things just got more grim rather than better. And he started off in a place where he possibly tongue-in-cheekly, possibly manipulatively tried to bring about social change to a point where society's screwed. So it is very grim in that sense. I think there's hope. I don't think it's completely depressing. I think the idea of the people being in the piano are hiding from civilization. So the piano represents music, maybe. Music is hope. Whenever music was threatened was when Frank always fought back. But I do think, okay, he passed away. He didn't get to see really how much he was loved and what would have happened had he stayed alive. There would have been a lot more a lot of more doors would have opened for him. Now we can kind of see that, but the legacy's there, the music's there, and the music lives on, so it's okay. You know. But this album takes a lot to get into. I remember the first time I bought it, I ordered it. You can only get it from Bath Coast Swill. You have to order it. So it came through the post, and I was so excited. I'd sort of set up a listening experience time. I was going to listen to it, and it was on, and it had been on, and it was like, right, it's been on. Huh? It felt completely impenetrable. It wasn't like, wow, what was that? It was just, huh? It probably took years actually to digest it. I mean, you could argue that a lot of things. I mean, I know some people really like Thingfish, and I haven't really given that a chance. But I mean, this is such a huge piece of work compared to Thingfish. This is just an amazing piece of future music. Like, you read the reviews of it, it will say, well, it's all atonal and it's all avant-garde, etc. But at the centre of it is melody, and even when it's being noisy, there's a melody to it. There's something happening melodically, and if you're used to listening to Zappa, that must make it a lot easier. If I was to be critical of it, maybe, you know, you could quite happily listen to it and skip some of the dialogue. You couldn't skip all the dialogue because sometimes there's bits of music in there. Whereas with Lumpy Gravy, the dialogue is just in with the whole album. It's really mixed together. With this album, there's like a bit of dialogue, then there's a track, then there's a dialogue, then there's a track, and you could skip and just listen to the music. Actually, is that criticism? Maybe, don't know. So, track one. Track one is This Is Phaze III. You certainly get the effect of them, just how these people in the piano, they stick their head in the piano, and Frank gives them just conceptual cues about pigs and ponies and war or whatever it was, and they just talk gibberish. So that allows him to arrange them into some sort of almost a narrative, but not enough to be fixed. And that's what's good about it. The best art leaves it open to interpretation. I mean, The Wall is kind of open to interpretation, and when they put it into a film, that kind of spoilt it. And this, like that, but obviously more so. Track 2 is Put a Motor in Yourself, actually performed by the Ensemble Modern later on. You could kind of argue that this is the accessible piece, and he was right to put this at the start, in the same way Night School on Jazz from Hell is an easier piece at the start. It's not as easy as Night School though, but it's a lot better. It's actually a great tune and a really good type of track. It's something you could introduce people to, you know. Track 3 is Oh-Umm, and we get the arrival of Motorhead, talking about whose piano is it? It's a Steinway. It's your piano, my piano. Track 4 then, Made Me Eat It. A lot of the tracks come from the last line of the dialogue. And there's it's brief, but there's a cool bit of widdly piano in there. There's some sort of descending bow bass, which seems to be one of his favourite sounds, is the bow bass stuff. I really like that. And then goes back into more dialogue. We got Reagan at Bitburg. This is kind of heavier, and it starts off very slow, which makes it quite easy to digest actually, rather than just all the craziness going on. And then you've got like the what I would call the Chinese bit. So it's Chinese strings, is that harp, I don't know, ding 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 ding, and then it kicks off, and it's scary. Best bit on the album so far, and then slower at the end. Great track. Track 6 is A Very Nice Body. Random talking, I don't know. Track 7 is Navanax. I believe I mentioned this before. I think it used to be called 33, and the 88 band attempted to play it but abandoned it. This is a real highlight, this one. This is one of my favourite tracks on here. It starts with a sort of seedy groove, and then just gets more mental as it goes along. And all the way at the end it kind of falls down, and at the end. It's a great ending as well. That's one of my favourites. It's only 1 minute 40 though. Then we've got How the Pigs Music Works, which is more dialogue, and then Xmas Values. And this one is different because it's more atmosphere, it's stuff. That's good. Track 10 is Dark Water, more dialogue, but quite funny in that this woman's going dark water, and there's an effect on her voice, quite entertaining. Then we've got Amnerika, performed by the Ensemble Modern. A couple of these have been performed by the Ensemble Modern in later years. This one was actually performed as part of the Yellow Shark concerts actually, but it didn't come up on the CD. It's actually, there's bits of it on Thingfish, on That Evil Prince. You can hear it in the background. Shannon's talking over it because it's a great rhythm. It's a funky rhythm and a really, really good melody. And the only way I could describe it is the rhythm is almost like Tom Waitsy, and then it's a but the melody makes me think of the Beatles. It's as good as the Beatles melody. It really is a fantastic piece. One of his best compositions ever. Then we have you heard their band? Chat. Religious Superstition, like evil flourishes and stuff, and then there's something about you're in the wrong piano. I quite like that. Then we have Saliva, can only take so much. I have no idea what I'm on about, but it's very funny. Then we got Buffalo Voice, pensive evil flourishes and all that kind of stuff. And then the monster, low note, stuff. Really, really scary. But controversial, bit long, didn't need to be 5 minutes. Then we got Someplace Else Right Now, more dialogue. Then Get a Life, and we have the return of the slow burps. Lots of long sustained notes with going on in it and all that stuff. Track 18 is a Kayak on Snow. God knows what they're on about now. But we have the final track on Act 1. This is quite a big piece. I think there's three main pieces to this, and I think that's N-Lite, D.O.F.R. and Beat the Reaper. So this is the first of those. This is actually a 6-section piece. They're not really movements because it is one continuous piece. But this is 18 minutes of some of his best synclavier material. It starts with Negative Light, which is your scary flourishes. It does speed up a bit after a bit, and then you get the sort of familiar Jazz from Hell runs, the stuff. That's pretty cool. Then you've got Venice Submerged, and then we get back to the voices, all the stuff he was using on the 88 tour kind of sounds. Terrifying stuff. Water effects as well. I'm sure that's where the Venice Submerged bit comes into it. Then we have The New World Order as the third part, which is more piano-y, like an evil riff. It's actually quite accessible. I think you could play someone just that section and then think, wow, that's good. And you've got some sort of shiny synth stuff on there. It does sound performed. So maybe this is actually an improvisation from the Ensemble Modern. If it is programmed, that's amazing. I mean, in terms of emotion, maybe occasionally it makes me think of Twin Peaks. I'm sure if you put on the Twin Peaks music, you'd be thinking, it's not that good. But this is like that, times 1,000. Number 4, The Lifestyle You Deserve. It starts off plinky and then the really fast runs and notes. And then some fast piano, some very, very fast piano stuff. And it gets a bit percussive. Wow. So conversely to New World Order, this is much less accessible, but it's fantastic. We get a fart in there as well. I think there's only one. Pretty sure it's a fart, so that's great. Part 5 is Creationism. And this is just percussion and burps. It's the slow down burps and the percussion stuff, which is just great. And then finally, He Is Risen. It's the 6th part. And it's shiny synths, it's percussion, and then the sort of final bit is kind of this sort of sneaky final notes, evil ding ding ding. We get a big flourish at the end for this amazing piece of music. So it's called N-Lite because apparently the N comes from something that was actually kind of in the Navy, and Light, he had a piece going way back called 1,000 Points of Light, which was actually just this group of very, very fast notes. So he put the two together. So somewhere in there is do 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 and then blah, and I think you can't really hear that, but I think you can sometimes hear dun 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 dun, and that's the N-Lite, I think. Disc 2. Track 1 is I Wish Motorhead Would Come Back, which is just 15 seconds of dialogue, or 14 seconds actually. Secular Humanism, bendy notes, burps, voices, mad fast voices, laughing as well, there's laughter in there, absolutely insane. Then track 3 is Attack, 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 makes me think of Thin Lizzy, which is more mad chatter. I Was in a Drum is track 4, is actually a drum solo, like a concert drum solo. I'm guessing actually programmed. Some of it is a bass and drum solo, some of it is drum solo. It's even got the bit when the drummer speeds up, and yet it's strangely listenable. I don't know why, it's a drum solo. But remember, Frank loves his percussion, loves his drums, that's where he started off. Track 5, A Different Octave, where the guy says we're the same notes but in different octaves. What he's talking about, but then he mentions the one note, which is like this idea that the whole universe is one note of music and everything's together as one note, which is pretty cool. That's kind of part of where the concept for the project object comes from, is that the whole body of work is one piece, and it is right to hear. Track 6 is This Ain't CNN. No, that's true, it isn't. Scary compositive voices. So although it's a speech track, it's more like a musical piece. It's frightening the way he's cutting all these different voices. There's some German in there. And there's a bit when he's going payphone, 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 and it sounds musical. It does sound musical. It's brilliant. The Pigs music, dark flourishes with more dialogue. I'm guessing this is some actual real improv from the ensemble bottom. A pig with wings, or the Chinese sounding plucked harp. Ding, 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 ding. Some kind of noodling in there, you know. Blah, blah, blah. So it's okay. This is all wrong. Is more dialogue, but then there's kind of dripping in the dark, kind of frightening atmosphere in there, which is pretty cool. Track 10, Hot and Putrid, 30 seconds of scary sounds. Track 11 is Flowing Inside Out, which is more chat. Track 12, I Had a Dream About That, that's more chat. Track 13, Gross Man. Does he mean gross man, or does he mean gross man? Very typical synclavier stuff in a way, but much darker than the Jazz from Hell stuff, which is probably hard to get it to sound like that. The bit at the end is not improvised, there's no way that could be improvised. But some of it I reckon is played, I think, maybe. A Tunnel into Muck, more chat. 15, Why Not? More synclavier. And it's at this point you could argue you get album fatigue, that we've had a lot of synclavier stuff. Maybe on its own that's a great piece, don't know. Put a Little Motor in 'Em, that must be a reference to Put a Motor in Yourself. But then we've got You're Just Insulting Me, Aren't You? And Cold Light Generation. This is kind of like a whole load of dialogue building up towards the finale. The first track of the finale is Dio Far. That's Italian God's a Liar. This might be my favourite piece on here. 8 minutes 19 of scary stuff, scary, slow sounds, evil synth. It's like maybe Native American chanting. It's wonderful, it's beautiful, it's frightening. One of his finest things he ever did, I think. Track 20, that will be the end of that, which is a little bit of chatter before Beat the Reaper, which is the final big piece. And I can see why he's called it that, because it's like he's just tried to get everything into 15 minutes of music. There is a bit of Perfect Stranger in there, I think, and there's thunder in there, there's mad stuff, there's syncopated stuff, scary avant-garde sound. It's an awesome piece. It's a bit impenetrable, but it is fantastic. There's a noise towards the end, which is sort of like dow, 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 which reminded me of the little monsters in Legend of Zelda on the Nintendo. But the thunder carries on, the storm carries on into our final moment. Zappa's final statement, Waffenspiel, which is completely avant-garde. It's sound effects. So the storm continues, we've got a dog barking, I think a car drives off. Then there's tapping and what sounds like footsteps. As the rain stops, birds chatter. So it's like we've got outside. Remember, we've come out the piano and we're outside. But then there's more chatter and the footsteps continue, and then you realise the footsteps are actually gunshots. And then a plane goes overhead and it fades. And we hear more of the outside sound of a bird singing. It's absolutely compelling. Maybe because you know it's the end. You know, where the plane flies away. It's very profound. It's a long way from Hungry Freaks Daddy. Yeah, so not for everyone. I don't think everyone would like it. It's not just that people don't get it. I think some fans, it won't be for them, but for me this is an incredible piece. Absolutely amazing. See you next week for a final summing up.